boxing club. Don't you have to All right, are we live? We're good. Well, I know we're live. Are we ready to go?
We're live. I have an HDMI to HDMI.
Even though we don't have screens? Okay.
Do we need that? Leslie, it's nice to hear it.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get started because I don't like starting late and it's 5:09. So we're going to officially call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. Let's start by introducing who's here. Let's start with Clark.
Clark Nelson.
Chris Wynn. Nicole McDermott.
Connie Burgess.
Julie Jackson.
Terry Bodden. Todd Hubbard.
Rich Knight.
And Karen Winder. We're going to jump right in and head into our capital and construction update by Don Adams and Justin Nagley. I think for those listening online, there's a frantic movement right now to get all of our technology connected, so those listening in and watching, there we go. We are good to go. Status of projects is up on the screen. Online, we're still good to go. Our online friends, thumbs up. Justin.
Okay, thank you, board members. We'll jump ahead to one more. Thank you, sir. Get my glasses on so I can see my own screen. But timeline for the next round of security projects, we have a couple, Woodstock and Oakwood are actually out to bid right now, and we'll get the bids back before the Christmas break and have to you for the January board meeting to approve, and that will start the 1st of April for those two elementary schools. So that's where we're at. And the other four, Valley Crest, Western Hills, West Kearns, and Silver Hills are in design with our architect right now. Okay, sorry. And then William Penn, we're just at the last stages of some touch-up paint and a couple of small items that just need to be buttoned up. But Nicole has moved into her office. She has new carpet, and she's happy to be back in her digs, or Nicole, our principal. And so things are progressing very nicely there. We're just a week away from getting out of their hair, so that's good news.
Are students walking in through the front door yet?
No. I don't.
No, as of last Friday, no. That's the last time I've been up there. They still have one doorway to perfect and get things going.
Yeah, I think that's
so a week or two.
I think it's next week. She's in her office, but I don't think we've moved this office switch all the way around, if you will.
I like your week or two comment, yes.
Yeah, very close.
Moving into some of our construction remodels, Fremont Elementary School, if you remember, this is where damage has occurred over the years thanks to water and humidity. We're working on the footing and foundation repairs. You can see the difference between some of the epoxy-based concrete patch and repair. And if you remember in prior imagery, we had rebar showing. Some of the other is forming it up and pouring extra large. And again, this evening you have in your packet also a change order. As this line of work has a tendency to go, we uncovered a lot more damage. And so there's a change order to continue that footing and foundation repair as engineered by our structural engineer. Magna Elementary School with ESSER funding is seeing a fairly large HVAC control replacement that's changing from old school air pressure lines that open and close valves and vents to electronic, and also just replacing a lot of bad old school valves that are in that building. It's a hybrid building that's had an extension on it. And so getting the old school and the oldish school together and working has been a bit of a challenge, but it's progressing nicely and should continue through the next couple of months, keeping the system live for the school as we operate. Hunter L, again, was a boiler replacement project, kind of an emergency replacement as in late fall, the boilers gave up the ghost. We've been busy keeping the heat working. We're installing variable frequency drives. These are motors that can ramp up and down, not always on, not always off, to push the hydronic, the hot water through the radiator systems. And we're increasing the gas meter type and size to accommodate the new system. But it's moving along nicely and heat is flowing at the school. Another ESSER 3 project, Hunter High School controls upgrade. We're about 70% complete. Again, this is an old system that uses compressed air to open and close valves. Old technology, but the new technology is moving along well, and you're seeing we're putting in not only the digital valves and the actuators that help us control our heating and cooling, but also working through the programming and online software. So that's working nicely, and we expect to be out of there in a very large school in a couple of months. New construction, Justin.
Okay, up at Skyline, I will have our Troy Chilton is in our department. He flies our drone for us. I'll have him share some drone in our next presentation, and you can see how crazy active school versus new construction. It's a jigsaw puzzle up there, and it's crazy what's going on. Good, crazy, but I'll share that with you all next on our next presentation. Administration area, the new administration area, the new offices and commons. We've got concrete floors going down, and they're standing tilt panels, which is great. We've been working on the north property line, trying to button some things up there. We got a few trees left to install by the stairwell, and once that gets done, then we can pretty much open up that north property pathway, if you will. So kiddos can walk down to Upland Terrace and Church or Wasatch, excuse me.
Justin, can I stop
Yes,
that?
yes.
Those, did we put trees along the entire north line?
No. We have trees already along much of the north line. There were a
Yes.
few areas that we addressed with some additional trees. A couple of properties that did not have as much.
Okay. I'll go walk it. to see.
Yes, and I'll show you a picture in here in a second, but yeah, absolutely. Tennis court, the concrete's installed, and tensioning, now there's snow on top of that, so once the snow melts this spring, they can get on there and do the finish coat on top of there. They're working on the fencing, and so we'll have tennis ready to go for in the summertime and for next fall. The softball field, the red dirt's going down in the infield. We got the grass sod placed before the snow fell a month ago, so it's having a chance to root. So the girls will be able to play softball when the season starts this coming spring, which is exciting. And the old gymnasium, not the auditorium, but the old gymnasium, the asbestos has been removed, and they started today knocking some things down. In the next 10 days, that old gymnasium is going to be pretty much gone. So that's exciting that we're moving progression-wise and getting that building down. That will give Herm Hughes a little more acreage to work on and work around. This photo you're seeing right now, you're looking northwest. There's the gym we were just talking about right there. You can see the old gym, and then the new right to the left of that. It's just amazing how tight things are there to get the progress, to keep construction going. Both these, the softball press box on the left, just some inside photos. We're working on getting that finished up this winter for the spring next year, and then some of the red dirt and tarps that were protecting some of the concrete there on the softball field. Here's that path that you were mentioning, Julie, the black fence with the slats. This picture does not show, but just this week they started draping the tan canvas. So if you go up there, you'll see that. We'll include that in our next set of slides. But the canvas is on there now. So if you're on that path, there's 100% privacy. You can't see through or see anything on either side of that property line. There's some additional trees that are being planted there on the right. Yep, sorry.
Are you able to see we had planted two different types of trees based on our conversations with the neighbors there. The trees that you see there were planted 6 feet apart. They will grow up to 15 feet, correct, Justin? Mm-hmm. 15, 20 feet, the ones that you're seeing, and kind of fill that wall. So once the canvas is gone, the privacy shield should remain. And then there's this fatter tree that's being planted on the next neighbor east property on the corner there to mitigate some privacy issues with the dip in the fence comparable to what you see in that corner on the left side photo.
Also of note, thanks Ben, also of note is you'll see there the slide to the left, you see the black fence, but just in front of that black fence, you see those silver bollards. Those are light bollards. And so when those are on, we'll get a picture, but the light is very nice. It's subtle. It comes down kind of on the pole and out. but it does not bleed into the neighbor's yard. I think it's very responsive and not to, light pollute, if you will, and cause issue for the neighbors. And especially when we drape the tarp or the canvas over that, there's no way the light's going through there. So I think we've met the concerns of the lighting, also the privacy issue, and then the trees should certainly help with some of that sound absorption. So I think we're in good shape.
Oops.
That was this is looking southwest. This is the tennis courts looking back onto the athletic building there that we opened this last fall. But you see the concrete there, and they're getting ready to, button all that up and put the fencing up so we can get tennis going. Just some more panels. All these are the form panels. They've got some that are forming up, and then when they pour those, you can see some of those how thick they are, and then when they cure, they stand those up, set them in place, weld them, and start forming the walls. So it's exciting. And then as far as the changes for this month, there was no change orders that needed to come to the board for approval. And Julie and I have talked about some things on changes up there, but nothing new to report as far as board items.
Okay. Cypress High School, all is going well, and we got a little factoid today on a construction call that as of today, 49% of all panels required to construct the building are up. So on the walls, it's halfway through. Much more to do on the inside, but the walls are coming along nicely. And so in the imagery today, you'll see the auditorium walls being erected. Those are 67 feet tall, so they're pretty impressive to see up. The gymnasium steel's being installed, so all of the metal decking, all of the trussing. It's starting to look like a building, so those are good things. And if you were to walk inside, there's some framing going on and some mechanical work for the HVAC. We've had the pool surge tank go in. Kitchen and academics are starting to see their underground electrical and plumbing. And then, of course, our storm chambers that handle all of our storm water have been installed, and we're almost completely backfilled. So the site's starting to develop. So as you can see, those are our 67-foot tall auditorium fly loft panels. So hard bit of work, a lot of nervousness, and when those winter storms come through and the winds kick up, it's a terrifying moment for all of us. So, but things are going well. Again, more of those auditorium tilt walls. We're starting to form that outer box, and then they will go inside, and then they will start forming and then pouring the concrete for what we typically see in the auditorium walls, the angled panels that help deliver the sound. So the acoustics will be developed after the main auditorium walls go up. Throughout the site, when looking at the softball and baseball fields, we're starting to see the footing and foundation work appear for our baseball and for our concession stands. So the athletics package is slowly coming alongside the building package. Again, a great look at the main field house and the pool and the roofing underway. I would say that if you were out there today, you would probably see half of that building under its permanent roof as opposed to the 10-ish% that's out there today. So they're moving along as quickly as weather permits. We've had a couple of snowstorms that have made it a bit of a challenge. Again, taking a look at those storm drain chambers and the backfill, the base of that is roughly 18 feet deep, and so they're filling up quite a big hole that they had to dig to get that storm drainage at the elevation that it needed to work. So it eventually makes its way north to the canals. No substantial change orders to date coming on Cypress High School. I'm trying to project out in the next couple of months, we might start to see a couple of inflationary related changes, but nothing comes to mind on the horizon. Our good friends at Westlake Junior, that building is making good progress as well. Second floor interior framing is happening. The block work for the walls in the gym have topped out. We have about 85% of the first floor concrete slab down, and we're getting structural steel delivered every day and erected shortly thereafter. And if you were to go out there, you'll start to see some of the building being draped in plastic that's allowing them to heat the building so they can start to get additional concrete work done. Framing, drywall components will soon follow. So they're able to put some temporary heat in that building. Again, lots of ducting, piping, and framing going in behind the walls. Floors, you can actually safely walk through some of the building if you're willing to dodge contractors. There's the temporary enclosures that are happening to keep things heated as they work on the mason work for the locker rooms. Complicated, time-consuming, and sometimes frustrating winter work is underway, and the contractor is doing well. Again, more views of that south wing and just how the weather is impacting their works. No changes coming on Westlake at this stage. Any questions? We know that's fast, but a lot of good work is happening, and just want to try and keep you informed of what's out in the wonderful world of muddy winter construction.
That's awesome. Please pass along our thanks, as always, to your team, who they're out there working hard, and you guys are leading them, so
Yeah, no,
good job.
it's
We
a lot of good
appreciate
work
these.
going on.
We appreciate these monthly updates. I think not only we appreciate them, but our constituency, or our communities appreciate them as well, so. All right, next we have a Granite Online update from Rick Anthony. We'll invite him to come up.
I gotta do it on here, right?
Oh, it does? It's not working?
It won't do PDFs.
Do you have your behind the scenes work?
There we go. Board President, board members, superintendent, and staff, thank you for having me this evening. Just wanted to take some time to give you some updates on Granite Online. Objectives of this presentation, I'd like to give you a summary of the online program, both self-paced and live, where it currently stands. I want to give you some enrollment data trends on both self-paced and live, and then share with you our plan of action moving forward after this school year, and receive your feedback on that plan of action. Just a reminder slide, our goal with Granite Online is to provide flexible and personalized learning options for Granite families. And a plug for our strategic plan. Our draft currently is the strategic plan. The action item that aligns with Granite Online is to continue Granite Online course development engagement. That action's found in the objective personalized competency-based learning, which is found in the priority of academic learning. So our three priorities, one is academic learning. We have an objective in there of personalized competency-based learning, and in that objective, an action of continuing Granite Online course development and engagement. Just starting with some self-paced data. In 2012, as an option under Granite Connection High, we started offering self-paced courses 9 through 12. So we're a good 10 years into self-paced. We offer all courses that are required to graduate. We currently do a quarter by quarter entry and exit. So even though it is asynchronous, you have a quarter if you start. You can start anytime in a quarter, but you need to end by the end of the quarter. To give you a sense of enrollment, last school year, for the school year, first quarter through fourth quarter, we had close to 3,000 students enroll in at least one course. So that's not 3,000 students enrolled in a full schedule, that's 3,000 students in at least one course. Summer is quite large always. It's a smaller span of time, but it's a time where students want to get ahead, knock out a class. Last summer we had 1,777 students take at least one course. That has tended to continue to trend up over those 10 years. Just some more information on self-paced. The classes that are most popular are the required semester courses. Those are the ones that are most taken in our self-paced, the required semester courses. We've seen growth over time in that. Wanted to note that in 2018, we moved that from Granite Connection to it's just a separate program within curriculum and instruction. So Stephanie Wood is the administrator over our Granite Online program. She's associate director in curriculum and instruction department. We fund our self-paced through M&O. So currently self-paced is budgeted through M&O, and the expense primarily there is paying for the teachers to support the asynchronous classes. So we use a stipending model for the teachers who back those courses offered in self-paced. Moving to Granite Online Live, we added this in 2021, again under curriculum and instruction as a program rather than a separate school. We offer Granite Online Live K through 12. In K-8, we have full-time teachers, just a true live program. In 7-12, we do a hybrid. We have a couple FTE of teachers for certain classes, math, science, and then we are paying for teachers out in all of our schools preparation periods. So if I'm a secondary teacher, I'm a 10th grade math teacher, and my 4th period is my preparation, I can, for a stipend, be the teacher for Granite Online Live and then do my preparation after. We do have some support staff, social worker, a PE specialist is in the rotation, and a BTS specialist is in that rotation as well. Granite Online Live follows our same calendar. I'm going to give you a sense of enrollment numbers. Last school year, we had 450 students on October 1 in Granite Online Live, 238 in elementary, 76 junior high, 136 high. This school year is substantially down. On October 1, we had 106 students enrolled, 43 elementary, 23 junior high, 40 high school. So significant decline in enrollment from one year to the next. We attribute that mostly to COVID concerns. As we get farther away from COVID, the thinking is that number, the demand is lower. We funded just wanted to remind everyone, we funded our Granite Online Live through ESSER. This has been an ESSER project, which presents a challenge for us here as ESSER is going to go away. That's a funding challenge that we are going to have. We have this project live funded through the end of this school year, but haven't identified a budget source to continue live if so. So I want to dig into that a little bit with you. Just bulleted the challenges that Granite Online has. There's some logistical issues. Student attendance is a challenge. Small school, even though in a virtual setting, you still have some small school challenges when you're at 100 students, 106 students. A big question is just some business questions around Granite On Live. Is there a market for this modality, Granite Online Live modality? And we've done some digging here. I've got a couple of slides where we've sleuthed around trying to find some answers. As you can imagine, people aren't real eager to share with you their exact enrollment numbers and how much they're spending. So we have to kind of look around to get a sense of what's going on. Wanted to point out a couple LEAs. Salt Lake Virtual Elementary, this is a charter. We saw in the paper that they are seeing a similar decline from last year to this year in their enrollment numbers. We're aware Canyons has about 64 students in their K-5 currently as well. So the thinking is short term, we're seeing a decline. Will this market grow over time becomes the other question long term. Finally, we know proficiency rates generally are lower in online courses than in online modality. Continuing with that question, is there a market for online live? We were able to find out from Alpine, Davis, and Jordan that they don't offer a what I guess I'll deem air quote pure online live. They all offer blended options. They don't do a live option. So blended being Alpine's version of blended. Blended has can be a million different types of versions, but Alpine's version of that is math and ELA are offered live. All the other courses are asynchronous if someone's fully enrolled with them.
Is that K-12 or is that just elementary? What is that?
K-12.
K-12.
Yeah. And that's the case for all three of these here. Davis does a blended where they'll have one subject that's live each day. The rest are self-paced or asynchronous. Jordan does a weekly optional live session. So it's this idea as you're working through your coursework, once a week, the teacher will make themselves available for you to check in if you so choose. So as you can imagine, there's a variety of ways you can do some blending, teacher supporting of your self-paced courses. Some outreach examples as we continue to say, is there a market for this? Wanted to share with you some things that we have done. We've done some direct mailing to students in our boundaries around this option. We've contacted home hospital students and continue to talk to home hospital students about using this as an option as well. Literature we've sent home to families summarizing what's going on in the district. We've been sure to include a Granite Online piece on our district website as well. And then Canvas has some direct messaging you can do to any Canvas user on anything essentially, but we've made sure Canvas users were aware of this option. Just continuing to dig at that. Is there a market for this paired with, gosh, if we don't offer this, might we lose students to other LEAs? So this is our attempt to try and tease that out. 77% of the students, 106 students that applied but did not enroll. So this is last spring. They said, yeah, I want to do Granite Online Live, 106 students. That chose it. Actually, I applied, but I'm not going to come. 77% of those said, I'm just going to stay at my home school. I maybe thought I was interested. We thought as a family we'd be interested, but they decided, no, we're just staying at our home school. 23% of those, or 24 students, were a mix of they still stayed with Granite but attended a different school, or they moved out of district, or in fact they might have chosen another LEA. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a sense of trying to just tease out, will we lose students if this isn't offered? Here's just three options, three scenarios that we wanted to investigate and give you some data on. So we looked into, okay, what if we continued with just elementary online live? What would that look like? And put some funding numbers behind it. That's our challenge with this, is the funding side. Or what if we continued with both? What would that cost, essentially? Bare bones type of program. And then explored focus on teacher-supported self-pace with looking at increasing that. Right, our self-pace right now is 9-12, looking at increasing that to K-12 in a self-paced offering. Just wanted to highlight attendance. Attendance is part of this element as we try and figure out a business case for offering this, and does it make sense, and is there a need? Attendance is interesting. I think a piece you have to ask is if someone's reason for doing an online live tied to attendance, and I want to split that into two halves. Travel is my attendance issue, and then just other factors, things that are affecting my family for not attending well. What we're finding, our experience over this year and a half thus far, is if it's a travel issue, that's one thing. If their attendance is a concern or poor, or they're struggling with attendance online for other factors, for factors other than travel, online is still not the solution. Those other factors still make it hard for you to be successful in online as well. And we do see, we have seen quite a few applicants applying because of other factor attendance issues, as this might solve my attendance problem, and it hasn't. So as we consider continuing, if we continued an elementary online live, this would mean we would discontinue secondary online live, we would continue to fund self-paced, obviously, that's already budgeted. We'd shift weighted pupil unit funding to Granite Online Live. Right now in our model, if a Rosecrest boundary student chooses to attend Granite Online Live, we still give Rosecrest that that WPU, that student. We haven't made that shift yet. So part of us trying to fund a model would mean we would need to move the funding to the location where the student's at. In elementary, K-5, we would have to go split grades. The enrollment's so low currently, if we stayed at that enrollment, which it feels like we will, thinking that the draw was COVID-related, you're going to have to go split grades, just like you do in a small school, where the online live teacher would be teaching 1-2 or 3-4, splitting grades. Because of special ed needs, we would look to have at least a half-time, a 0.5 teacher to be able to support students in the program. This next slide, we just put money to that, so rounded money towards that. 3 FTE runs you about 270 half, and then so a bare bones funding model to offer K-5 Granite Online Live would be around $300,000. Continuing to offer elementary and secondary. I won't read through each slide. Same idea. Secondary, remember, is mostly paying for additional class periods, which is a little bit of a cheaper model, quite honestly, because you've already absorbed the URS, you've already absorbed a lot of the benefits. You're just tacking on some more pay, if you will. When we push that model out, we know we'd need the 3 FTE for elementary. We'd bump to a full FTE in special ed, and then we'd look to buy or pay for 28 class periods just to be able to offer a comprehensive schedule for online live. Price tag total being around $650. I included this slide just again to put the numbers to the enrollment, even at a 650 with 106 enrollment, if that trend was to continue, which we feel will. We haven't seen it, even from the October 1 count, move much to today in terms of increasing. It ends up being quite an expensive proposition to continue Granite Online Live. So, go ahead, Julie.
So if we looked at those 106 kids, assuming that they stayed next year with the WPU, are you saying that the WPU would not cover that $640,000?
Correct. It would cover
By a long shot?
No, it would cover a portion of it.
But we would be definitely subsidizing that.
Correct. That's a great point. This slide is just a reminder. We're committed to Granite Online Live. It's part of our strategic plan. It is something that we believe in and provides personalized competency-based learning. So a focus on teacher-supported self-paced, in our mind, administratively seems to be the best solution. We continue with what we have in our self-paced 9-12. We start developing 6-8 self-paced, moving into 1-5 self-paced as well. We start looking at blending and offer some blending support, that teacher support being the key part. Looking at models like Alpine, Davis, and Jordan are currently offering, how could we do some of those types of things that's budget conscious? But we would discontinue Online Live as it's currently constituted. Feedback from the board.
Yeah, I was just going to open up. I know Nicole's jotted down a question. I think the thing that we're all kind of trying to wrestle with in our mind is this probably is a good program for those 106, but when you look at 106 of 60,000 and you know, one of our biggest job is to be stewards over that precious taxpayer dollar. So I think there's a few questions up here. Let's start with Nicole, and then can I know who else has a question? Clark? All right, Nicole first.
I just wondered a couple things. What is the attendance right now?
In terms of percentage,
Yeah, like just give me a ballpark.
it's good. The
So
attendance
if they're-
is pretty good. Of those 106, the attendance is pretty good.
Okay, so we're not seeing like what we were before as far as
Correct.
kids sign up and they just don't come.
Yes, I think some of that drop is that 106 for the most part, this is what they do want, where at 450, we were seeing poor attendance.
Okay. I know I threw this out to you before, and I don't know if you've had a conversation with GEA or anybody, but my thought was just, like I said, having a teacher who's willing if it comes down to losing those kids out of our district versus, hey, let's just stream them into the class, have you had a conversation about that? Is that more like what you're thinking with blended, or even with our K-12, or our 1 through 5 or K through 5, have we had that conversation, or has that been thrown out there just to say, hey, we'll keep that kid in your class, so to speak, but we'll have them, any thoughts?
Yes, it's part of that blended discussion is what could we realistically, what's realistic and best for kids in a blended scenario, so that going back to that teacher supported piece, what could that look like, and how could we meet their needs that fiscally works.
Clark?
So if we were to discontinue the live modality, is the only alternative for these kids to go the self-paced mode that we offer? That's my first question. Is that yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then are there?
We only have self-paced 9 through 12 right now.
Correct.
So it would not be
Okay.
applicable to K through 8.
So there is no option for the K through 8 within our district. So what are the alternatives for those kids in K through 8 then, and those kids that maybe can't, that it wouldn't work for them even in grades 9 through 12 to go self-paced? Can they go to another LEA and enroll there? Could we not form some kind of a joint venture with other LEAs or at the state level to provide a Utah State online instead of each LEA trying to provide the resources to do it for such few kids?
There's been discussion around that, but it hasn't gotten any traction as of yet. You have seen a model. There's a model out there. Tooele uses this model where they essentially contract with a third party, if you will, and split the WPU, meaning the student stays enrolled in Granite, but Granite pays that third party a percentage of the WPU to provide the service. And that is part of our exploration that we plan to take on.
And is that third party just a private online institution?
It's kind of a broker, meaning that person finds nationally offered online services and brokers it with the school district. It's an interesting business model. A few different districts in the state use it.
I had one more question, if I may. You talked about 3,000 students who take at least one self-paced class through Granite Connection. Do you have a number of how many students take a full load by way of, so in effect, they're a completely online student?
I don't have a full number, but it's a low percentage. Of that, I would say single-digit percent take, and even low single-digit percent, 5% or less would take a full load. The market for that is, I want to take a class or two to free up space in my schedule.
Which is why 9-12, I can't tell you how many times I hear Fit for Life, Financial Lit,
Yep,
all
health,
of the,
PE.
health, PE, those are very popular because these kids get into their extracurricular clubs and groups and sports classes, and so I'm real happy we do offer those online courses to free up that. Clark, you honed in something earlier that I was actually talking about this with my family last night and a little bit, and this concept of there are so, when you've got Salt Lake with this few kids, with this many kids in Granite and Canyon, it is that state online school is a good idea. And I don't know, maybe that's something that we can lobby for or, ask about at the very least in the legislature, because when it's so few kids in every district, I think the financial strain goes to every individual district. And so if there's a way to kind of almost pool kids and give them that online option. I know that's not in our purview right now in the discussion. I just want to say that it's interesting you said that because we had that very conversation yesterday.
I don't have enough insight to say very broadly, but I do believe, or at least understand, that there are other states that offer such an online program, and it is a state-based offering rather than an LEA-based.
And we're not alone in grappling with this. Stephanie, they do have a group who get together and talk through, this is how we got the information we were able to get from Alpine, Davis, Jordan. So there are a group who collaborate around this idea, and we might see that evolve. This is how Self-Paced started with a partnership between Granite, Davis, Jordan. I think it was just Jordan at the time when it was together. That's how our Self-Paced started. We then got to a tipping point, if you will, in size where we were able to break off. But there is some discussion amongst LEAs on how can this work. And honestly, other LEAs are seeing this decline in enrollment too, kind of getting to what's the true market for purely online live.
Nicole?
I guess because I know Washington School District has one, and there's kids all over the state that are already enrolled in that. That's kind of where I like the idea of it, but at the same time, we've already got some that are available, and I like the idea because we would maintain that WPU within our district, but would we be seen as in competition? Will Washington or Tooele, will these other districts, will they, get upset because we're going to do this and kind of overstep? I don't know. I think it poses a good question, and I think there is some merit to the idea. It's really interesting to see.
Whether it's state-based or just some other LEA, or maybe it's Granite that takes the lead and offers it, but there's in my mind, there's got to be some aggregation here. There's too much duplication of precious resources across LEAs for 106 students.
Yeah, and we were looking this up last night, I think there's 8 or 9 available live options offered in the state. Don't quote me on that number. I don't have that in front of me. That was just part of our discussion last night. So there are options like what Nicole, like what you just referenced. Of course, that makes it sound like we don't care about those 106 kids and, go wherever you want and whatever. That's not what we're saying. But to answer the availability and that there are options that already exist, they are out there. So just wanted to mention that. You guys are all giving me the look like we're done with this conversation. So, Rick, thank you so much for putting this together. We appreciate the hard work, and we're going to take a break, and we'll re-adjourn at 7 p.m.